Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. A war of words has erupted over whether the amount of health funding in yesterday's budget is actually a record. The state opposition claims next year's injection is $15 million less than this year, but the government says Labor has misread the figures.
The Treasurer taking to the stage to sell his fourth budget to the state's business and industry leaders.
This is a budget that will build Tasmania's future.
And many in the corporate sector believe it.
This is a great budget for business. It's a budget that helps businesses to employ people around the state. It invests in training and apprenticeships for young people right across Tasmania.
And the confidence of having a budget that's in surplus and in a reasonably believable surplus is one that will rub off to.
Peter Gutwin's $5.8 billion budget promises a $54 million surplus next financial year. Its big ticket item, a $650 million boost to health funding over the next 4 years. But overnight, as opposition parties crunched the numbers, they say things don't quite add up.
Well, you can't fix a crisis in our hospital system by spending less money, and what the government plans to do in the next year is spend $15 million less than they're spending this year.
A claim quickly shot down by Mr Gutwin.
They have made a fundamental error here, and they need to be held to account for it. Yet Tasmanians need to know that they can't even read our budget papers.
The government claims Labor missed the $20 million listed for health funding provisions, which they say proves more will be spent on health next year. The former Launceston General Hospital boss, John Kerwin, says it's always pleasing to see more money for health, but he'd like to see funds for LGH ward developments in coming years.
Those wards are about 20 years old. They do require actually some capital works, and I'd like to think after the current round they would be up there on the top of the list.
And while many are pleased with the budget, unions say the included 2% wage provision for public servants will be challenged and could affect predicted surpluses.
When we sit down and bargain, the government's going to have to shift their position, or they will not be getting agreements from public sector workers.
Look, our wage policy is firm.
And as the Greens continue to claim it's just a pre-election budget, they fear if the Liberals are re-elected, next year's budget could be a repeat of 2014.
We'll see a Liberal government, if it is re-elected, making those cuts again as they did the first time.
Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Klaus-Dieter Nubert has been ordered to pay $2.3 million in damages to victim Josephine Ramos Cooper following a brazen daylight shooting in Newtown 2015. Nubert was last week jailed for 28 years for killing his wife Olga Nubert and injuring her friend Mrs Cooper in the attack.
It's the end of a 2-year ordeal. Justice Escort today ordering Mr Nubert to pay damages of $2.3 million to Mrs Cooper, who faces ongoing care for the loss of 2 fingers in the attack and psychological trauma from watching her friend die beside her.
I'm glad that she was well compensated because she'll need it for the rest of her life.
Mr Nubert fired a shortened rifle into the car they were travelling in 2015, killing his estranged wife, Olga Nubert, and injuring Mrs Cooper. Mr Cooper says his wife is too distressed to travel on her own and couldn't represent herself in court today as she's too afraid to face Mr Nubert.
She's quite happy to stay home and keep away from this chap.
She can no longer complete everyday tasks like putting on earrings or changing her granddaughter's nappy.
Gets so annoyed with herself. She was a good gardener. She can't use a tool in the right hand and the gardening tools. It's just had a big impact on her life.
The victim's lawyer says he hopes this case will deter other domestic violence perpetrators.
How much of a stain it is on our community, and those persons who might be tempted to take this sort of action or even a lesser form of violence can think twice about it because there are always repercussions.
Ms Cooper's lawyers had unsuccessfully tried to settle the case outside court, requesting approximately half of the amount awarded today.
And that was a genuine attempt by our client to settle it, to avoid everything that she's had to go through.
It's been very traumatic for her and very sad to see her like this, and it breaks my heart.
Mr Nubert was silent in court as he was handed the printed copy of the judgment. His assets are frozen by court orders and lawyers will now pursue the payout. Louise Hager, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian worker has been transferred to the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne after suffering serious burns. The incident occurred last night at Bell Bay Aluminium Smelter. The employee was first taken to the Launceston General Hospital before being flown interstate. The company says it's supporting the employee and his family. His condition has not been publicly released. Workplace Standard and Tasmania Police attended the site and are investigating the incident. The company has also commenced its own investigation. Work has begun on a disability employment training centre in Hobart, with Liberal Senator Eric Abetz today turning the first sod for the project. The $2.5 million facility will increase the company's manufacturing capacity, securing 40 local jobs in the sector.
William Rogers has worked at Oakdale Industries for 29 years, building different timber products. He says he can't wait for the new project to get underway and was happy to watch the first sod being turned.
And so we lift it up and turn the first sod.
Here in this new building, it's going to make it just go really well into the future, so yeah.
The $2.5 million project is funded by the federal government and is part of the Tasmanian Jobs and Growth Package. The build will be an upgrade to the current facilities and will increase manufacturing capacity, securing 40 local jobs and creating 9 more over the next 2 years.
Provides employment for people with disabilities, but also provides training experiences for those looking to gather manufacturing experience.
Yeah, it's good. At least you know you're going to be able to wake up and go to work, go home, and you've got area where you're going to be coming every day and not stuck at home just doing nothing, sitting on the couch. So yeah.
Meanwhile, an art exhibition showcasing talents of those with a disability and who are ageing was launched in Hobart today.
So their work, their artworks, just being inclusive and getting everyone to see that the work that our guys do is on a par with the rest of society, really.
So we are bursting at the seams with pride of the work that the students have done.
Louise Hager, Southern Cross News.
A $40 million runway extension that could make international flights out of Tasmania possible is 2/3 on the way to completion. Hobart Airport CEO Rod Parry says he's confident the state is on track to secure airlines that will fly to and from international destinations.
I'll go so far that Hobart will be an international hub.
An asset which will allow us to leverage our Antarctic endeavours, our tourism endeavours, and indeed our endeavours in air freighting our niche agricultural products to the rest of the world.
The past year has been the busiest ever for the Hobart Airport, seeing 2.4 million passengers visit. New Blue Derby mountain bike trails could be constructed within 12 months, thanks to funding from the state government. The Dorset Council receiving $800,000 in yesterday's budget to help expand the trail network around the town's old tin mine. Planning has been underway for the tracks for several months and work is set to start in September. The Breakaday Council also receiving $1 million in the budget for a mountain bike trail at St Helens. It's not every day that you're able to see up close a human brain, bladder stones, or even the intricate details of an eyeball. But the latest exhibition opening tomorrow offers the public just that.
There's no doubt this display will intrigue visitors. It may too also shock some. But one thing's for sure, this isn't a sight you often see.
To see an actual gallbladder that contains the stones, and to relate to that through the artwork and to look really deeply at it through the artwork. There's a brain in the museum. Not many people have seen a brain and they want to look closely at the anatomy of the body.
Months of preparation later, this is the result. A rare collection of artwork aiming to offer the public a different view of the human body.
And they're very, very beautiful. The more closely you look and the more deeply you look into the artwork, the more that you see.
The inspiration behind the works comes from Lauren's art residency in Malaysia in 2014 and her time working at the Museum of Pathology in Hobart.
I think for all of us, we often forget the very basic elements of the human body and certainly don't see it as a basis for an art exhibition. And Lauren seems to have transcended all that.
A number of medical objects used in early Tasmanian medical practices are also on display. The exhibition opens tomorrow and will run until August. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
Launceston City Mission has launched its winter food drive, asking Tasmanians to donate non-perishable items. Mission Possible is aiming to raise 5,000 food items, which will then be distributed across the state.
Packaged items or cans are fine, cereals. We get some pet food, some pharmaceutical items that you get from anything you get really from supermarkets, quite fine.
The Launceston Tornado is also getting behind the cause with donation bins to be set up at Elfin Stadium. Currently, City Mission gives out around 100 food items per day. Well, it's not often you see tea made out of a concrete mixer, but today staff at Hazel Brothers organised just that, all for a good cause. As part of Australia's biggest morning tea 20-year anniversary, water was boiled on the back of a truck in Australia's biggest kettle.
It's a chance to bring everybody together, all our team together, and just talk about the issues that all families have got around cancer.
It is the biggest kettle that I have ever seen, so it's very impressive, isn't it? And of course we love having the daffodil on the back of the truck, so whenever we're driving around town we always now look out for the Hazel Brothers truck with the big daffodil on it.
Today's morning tea was raising money for cancer research. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market was closed lower amid a broad sell-off led by heavy losses from the miners, banks and telecommunication giants. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 37.9 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.39 US cents and 66.41 euro cents.
Western Bulldogs legend Tony Liberatore is the latest big name from the AFL world to throw his support behind a standalone Tasmanian team. He says the future of the competition depends on it and has urged the governing body to give the state a chance on the national stage.
In town as a guest of honour at a Carbine Club lunch, the pint-sized 283-game Footscray legend had plenty of admirers among the crowd. And it wasn't just because the 1990 Brownlow medalists' beloved Bulldogs are reigning premiers. Liberatore is also backing the push for Tassie to join the AFL.
It still surprises me, that it sort of staggers me, to be quite honest, that they haven't got a side out here. It just makes it a truly national competition. You'd like to think down the track that it can happen, and I still sort of think, I don't know why they don't try it at least anyway.
He says the state's record speaks for itself. From Baldock to Hudson, Lynch to Richo to Rewalt, the AFL story is littered with successes from down south.
You want to see the state grow and get better, and I know it's been a bit of a hard slog for getting a lot of people drafted into AFL, whether it's football or women, over the last few years, and hopefully they can start up again.
Liberatore was also on hand to see two of the game's rising stars awarded a Carbine Club scholarship. 15-year-old Tigers player Jaden Appleby and 18-year-old Launceston player Daria Bannister each gifted $2,000 to further their careers. Bannister is one of 10 Tasmanians picked for the Allies squad and is harbouring dreams of running out for a Tasmanian AFL women's team.
Yeah, I think it would be really good to get a Tassie team in, give a lot of Tassie girls an opportunity to showcase their skills, and hopefully one day I can come down and play with Tassie as well. But if we do have that alliance with other clubs to make it happen, then that's good enough.
Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
Tornado star Lauren Mansfield has been named as part of the Australian Opal's 21-player squad, which will head to Phoenix, Arizona for a selection camp. And she's not the only athlete doing Tassie proud. Marathon runner Josh Harris has also been selected for the World Championships.
Competing on the world stage on the same track as Usain Bolt.
Definitely won't be racing him, but I'll get to see him compete, which will be cool.
Josh Harris is putting the hard yards in now to best prepare himself for the World Athletic Championships later this year. He narrowly missed out on Rio, but with a PB time of 2 hours and 17 minutes, Josh is in fine form.
So that's my best time, and the qualifying time for Worlds was 2 hours 19, so got under that by a couple of minutes and was in the top 3 fastest, so yeah, I'm off to London.
He'll head off in around 5 weeks' time. To soccer, and South Hobart coach Ken Morton says tomorrow's blockbuster against Olympia is a battle of rich versus poor, after Olympia coach Kenny Weston moved in and spoke to a number of Morton's men about crossing the Derwent. But Morton is pleased his squad has stayed put and says the move will add some extra spice to the home game at Darcy Street.
The players are very committed to South Hobart, and we've got a project in place. We've got long-term aims and goals, and these players are driving that as well. You know, our young players drive the football club, and I think we're in a good position.
Kick-off is at 2 p.m. and Launceston Tornadoes captain Lauren Mansfield has been selected as one of this year's squad, heading to America for a preparation camp ahead of the FIBA Women's Asia Cup. Australia has been drawn into Group B, where they will face Korea, Philippines and Japan during the opening phase. In 2014, the Opals won bronze at the World Championships. Meanwhile, tonight the Hobart Chargers game against Nunawading hit off at home from 6 p.m, and the men take to the court at 8. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
Good evening. It was mostly sunny in the east today with some morning fog around Launceston. In the west, mostly cloudy with some light showers. Hobart reached a top of 15 degrees, the same in Launceston, Burnie and Devonport. 15 was the number of the day, with Low Head, Maria Island, Friendly Beaches, Grove, Bushy Park and the Bass Strait Islands all reaching 15 degrees today. It was 14 at Strawn, and after the state's low of 0 overnight, Lyowini had a top of 8 degrees. The satellite images show low-level cloud over the southeast of the mainland, ahead of a band of middle and high-level cloud associated with a cold front in the Bight. We can also see a band of high-level cloud over central Western Australia and parts of the Northern Territory. On the close-up, low-level cloud over the west, south and Bass Strait, but mostly sunny conditions in the east. To tomorrow now, the chart shows a cold front in the Bight approaching the west coast of Tasmania, with high pressure sitting to the east in the Tasman and ridging into the west over Western Australia. Taking a look at the coastal waters, north to northwesterly winds increasing to 20 to 30 knots throughout the early morning. Swells to 4 metres in the west and south. And there's a strong wind warning for all coastal waters except Banks Strait, Franklin Sound and between St Helens Point and Cape Portland, as well as a small craft wind alert for the lakes. Rain developing in Hobart tomorrow, a top of 17, Medina 15, Oatlands 14. Launceston, rain increasing 16 degrees, 17 and rainy for Devonport, 10 for Lyowini. Wet in Burnie 17 degrees, Strawn and Marrawar both 16. Showers for St Helens, a top of 17, 17 for Swansea and Orford also. Looking ahead to Sunday now, rain easing to showers in the morning, then contracting to the west and south through the afternoon. Snowfalls lowering to around 800 metres. More showers in the west and south on Monday, increasing in the west before extending to the north. Morning snowfalls to around 800 metres. And Tuesday, rain extending statewide early in the morning, easing to showers in the afternoon and contracting to the west and south through the evening. And now let's take a look around the country tomorrow. Brisbane, a shower or two, 24. Sydney, mostly sunny with a top of 21. Showers for Adelaide, 20. And a partly cloudy day expected for Melbourne, 18 degrees. Now let's take a look at the current conditions around the state. It's mostly clear in Hobart, 9 degrees, Launceston 8 and clear, Devonport 11 and clear. Looks like we've got a bit of a wet weekend ahead, Jo. I hope you're not spending it outside.
Yes, well, I'm a soccer mum Saturday and a footy mum Sunday, so I don't know how that's going to go. Well, thanks very much, Britt. That's all from the news team for now. Thanks so much for your company. We will see you with updates a little later. Bye-bye.